Hi, so today I'm going to be reviewing Birth of a Killer by Darren Shan, and this book is the first book of the saga of the Latin Crespley books, and also is a prequel to the series Circuit du Freak, also by Darren Shan. So this book follows Latin Crespley, who, if you have read the Circuit du Freak series, you might recognise his name, as he is Darren Shan's mentor in the Circuit du Freak series. So the series follows Latin, and it follows a series of horrible events that happened to Latin when he was a child, and how he had to flee his home because of these events. And on the way fleeing, he met a vampire who was called Seba, and he helped Latin make a decision if he wanted to go back to humans and become, just a normal person, or if he wanted to become a vampire assistant for Seba and maybe eventually become a vampire himself. Now, as he had to flee his home, he didn't want to put his family in danger of what had happened. He decided to go with Seba and become his vampire assistant. So the book follows Latin and Seba's adventures, doing what vampires and vampires assistants do in this world. And along the way they also meet Resley, who becomes Latin's pretty good friend, almost as a brother to Latin and everything, and he becomes a vampire assistant as well. So throughout the book, Latin has to decide whether he will make the choice to become a vampire or not, and discard his human life. And so this book follows his choice in doing that, and the consequences of after his choice of what happens and everything like that. Now, in this book, there are very complex characters. The characters are very real, they have true feelings, and there's a lot of breakthrough with them. They change throughout the book, and I like that. There was a lot of character development, which I think is important in a book, and this book certainly had a lot of character development for such a short book. And so I'm interested to see in the series, how much more character development the characters go through. Latin especially had a lot of choices to make that would affect his life and everything, and making the choices that he did and deciding why to make those choices was really interesting to read about, and why Latin chose to make them. Now, I remember reading Circuit du Freak, but I vaguely remember the character Latin, and I think I'm going to have to reread it because I have a feeling that Latin in the Circuit du Freak series isn't the greatest of characters. I don't know, I can't remember, but I think it'll be interesting to go back and read that series and everything after reading this book and see, how he became the person he is. And I'm also interested in finishing this series, as it's a quick and easy, really read, and the storyline is really interesting. Now, I know a lot of people kind of throw off these books as being books for teenage boys, which is just stupid, alright? People of all genders can enjoy these type of books. And I mean, yes, generally this is a book that, might be more placed and centered for around teenage boys, but I enjoyed it. It was a light-hearted, it was funny, it was dark in some places, and it's really good. There's good character development, there's a strong plot in here, and it's not like a cheap children's book. It's really good and really interesting, and especially if you've read the Circuit du Freak series and enjoyed that, I would definitely suggest picking up this book. I think it's important to give a book a chance, and no matter if they're meant for boys or for girls, because who cares about gender stereotypes? You might end up really enjoying this book. And I did enjoy this book. I'm glad I picked it up. I got this book from my uni actually, and it was only $5, and I thought that was a really good deal for this book, and hopefully I can find the other books in the series for the prices like that, because I definitely think they're worth them for that sort of price. As I mentioned before, this book is a really quick and easy read. It's not very long, it's only 247 pages, and the chapters are really quick and the writing is thin, so I finished it in 2 days. I couldn't have finished it much sooner. I decided to read half of it one night time, and the other half, another night time. I would have finished it in one night, but I just didn't want to spend that long reading it. I like to try and space out my books as much as I can, and I know that maybe 2 days people wouldn't see that as spacing it out, but I have 200 books to read this year according to my Goodreads, so I gotta get reading. I also love the way Darren Shan writes his stories. His characters are always interesting, they're always complex, and you never know what you're going to get with his characters, and in this book it's definitely no different to any of his others' works. I think I may have enjoyed this book more if I had been a bit younger, as it is aimed for the younger, people and everything, but I enjoyed it all the same, and I think I'm going to rate it 3.5 stars. I mean, it would probably get more of a rating for me when I was younger and everything, but I'm tending to read more the very more young adult and adult books, and while this is a young adult book, it's more aimed for the younger teenagers and everything. But even in saying that, I did enjoy this book. I mean, for a young teenagers book. This book was really good, and I do want to pick up the series. I did enjoy reading Circuit de Freak, the series, you know, when I was younger, and so I'm definitely going to pick up this book and read it. And also I would suggest, maybe if you have a, you know, if you're younger yourself, maybe about 16, definitely pick up this book if this book sounds interesting to you. Or even if you're 20 like me and you still want to read it, then pick it up too. I think this book does have something for everyone in it. It's funny, it's dark, and it brings an interesting take on the vampire genre. The vampires that Darren Shan creates are very different than other vampires, and I think it's interesting to see how different authors portray the vampire genre. So let me know in the comments below if you've read this book and what you thought of it, if you've read it, or if you've read the Circuit de Freak series. And if so, you know, what you thought of that series too, as it has been a while since I've read that series, and I definitely will have to reread it again, especially after reading this book. And like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more book reviews from me, and I guess I'll see you next time. Okay.